Hello, and welcome to day 2 of Color Boot Camp. Tonight, we're going to talk about some corrective color. Last week, if you were here with me live, we talked about brassiness, and the title of last week's session was Let's Kick Some Brass. So, when we lighten hair, we're dealing with a lot of warmth, a lot of brassiness, and taking the hair from dark to light and going through every stage that the hair goes through to go from dark to light. Today, I want to talk about the reverse. When someone like me decides, you know what, I'm tired of this maintenance, I want to go back to my natural. Our clients think that we just put one color all over their whole head and easy peasy lemon squeezy, they're dark again. But if you've been doing hair color long enough, you know it's not always just one step and it's not always simple. So, welcome back. Thank you for coming and being here live. It always gives me more energy when I have a lot of people here live. I know some people need to catch the replay because they're working. I hope you had a great day if you're just getting home from work. So, let me hear in the comments, did you work today? How was your day? Did you do anything differently today or, last week as a result of being in day 1 of this boot camp? I got some nice notes sent to me. Someone said they did a much more thorough consultation and they were super proud of themselves, and it felt good to actually take the time to check in with their client. I had somebody else saying, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known these things about, the lift really being in the tube and not getting where I really need to be. It would have saved me so much aggravation. So I would love to check in and see how you're feeling with what you learned in week 1, because I want to make sure that I'm bringing value to you since you're spending your time with me. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Yuta. Hi, Stacy. Stacy, I want you to hang on here tonight. We're going to bring some insiders on for some conversation. Let me actually try and send you a link if I can do that without being totally distracted. That's if you're able to stay on. I understand if you can't. So, Stacy, I'm sending you a link in your Facebook Messenger. Oh, that's not it. Hold on. One more try. Sorry, I'm getting too distracted. Don't worry about it. If I can figure it out later, I'll send it to you. So I wanted to share some photos with you of, one of the more famous people of going from really, really dark to really light and then back is Kim Kardashian. There's not many people walking around with hair darker than her, both naturally and artificially. So when the Kardashians came on the scene and the show became so popular, I'm sure if you're anything like me, you were getting a lot of requests for women who were normally either their natural level 5, 6, normal, I shouldn't say normal, but average brown, wanting super black, super shiny hair because they were trying to be like the Kardashians. But I'm sure you'll agree that that level of depth does not look great on everyone. And you can see how much makeup Kim always has on. I mean, she wears a ton of makeup. She always has lashes. She has the nice full lips. She always has her lips done. She's always accessorized. And that's what it takes to be those extremes, to be really, really dark or really, really Gwen Stefani blonde. Now you see in this photo when Kim decided she wanted to be Gwen Stefani blonde, I can only imagine the stress level of the colorist that had to take on that project. Number one, all eyes are on that person, right? From taking Kim, I'm sure was not all her natural when she's that dark. I'm sure that was, like a 1B or something to really punch up the depth and the shine in her hair. So I'm sure it was artificially colored. And then you know what it's like even to put bleach on someone's hair that's naturally that dark and take it that light. Now, I did hear rumors and I've read a lot about it. And there was talk of her colorist getting really smart about it and only bleaching out just her hairline and the top layer of her hair, so that when she slicks it back like that, that all of her hair was pulled up underneath in like a stocking cap or something. And it was just like the front hairline and then pieces, which would not surprise me because, they have all things available to them. So I can imagine her pulling that off. And she didn't stay blonde very long. So it was either that she couldn't keep pulling off the mystery of it not being her whole head, or her hair was so fragile and so damaged from going that dark to that light that she just knew she couldn't keep doing that and still have hair. So when you do have those kind of situations come to your chair, it's important. We talked last week about the foundations of color and really understanding how hair color works. And I put in here, what goes up must come down. And it reminds me of that song, and I often sing it when I'm teaching this class. It's that, what goes up must come down. It's that spinning wheel, but it's true. If she lifted her hair all the way up, eventually she's going to want to come back down. And that's when we really have to put our thinking cap on and remember what was present in that hair that's no longer there. I can't tell you how many times I see in people asking questions on a forum, they're like, oh, I'll just put, a 1B back on it. So imagine she's this blonde and you go in with a level 1 from a level 1000 and you're putting that inky dark color. If you understand color, you know that each tube or bottle, whichever you're using, at each level, there's a different percentage of pigment in there. There's a heavier pigment weight at the lower levels, and it shears out as it gets to the higher levels. So all of that pigment going on that raw blonde hair, you're missing a lot of things on the way back down that need it to be present. And a lot of people will say, oh, my color line, we don't need to do that. We don't need to fill or do anything. We just do all one color and we just put it back to their natural color. And can you do that? You can do anything you want. Should you do that is a whole other conversation, because there are things that are missing. In my book, we talked about this last week on pages 7 and I think it's 33. 7 and 35, I'll get it one of these days, is this chart. And it's a very handy chart to show you what is present. Let me see. I think I have it on here too. Yes, here we go. So you see what is present at every single level of lightness and darkness. So if Kim Kardashian is an 11 on this chart, on this picture, she is very pale yellow, has barely any yellow in her hair. And the basic rule of thumb for deepening hair is for every 2 levels, you go deeper to fill in what is missing at that level of depth. So for example, on Kim, if you were taking her back to her dark, level 1 black hair, you would go in first with a level 9 yellow. You would apply that to the hair, let it process 15 minutes, rinse the hair, towel dry the hair, bring her back to your chair, and then you would go in with a level 5. And if you look across the chart from level 5, you see it's red-orange. So you're going to pick something red-orange. And then you could say, well, we don't want warmth. We want a really cool level 1 hair. And that's okay. You still need those building blocks to be put back in the hair so that the hair doesn't end up hollow. So you're not just trying to shove this, giant molecule of color at a lower level into something that needs to be layered. And then you could do, go back in at level 3, but usually once you've filled twice, no matter how far you're going down, it's usually enough that you're okay. And even though that filler was an orange, your final tone is still going to be okay, because you're still going all the way from 5 down to 1 in the coolest color that you can have. So that orange is just filling in the hair. So I'm also going to share, examples of what that looks like going from blonde to dark and why that orange step is necessary in there. So let me just take a quick peek at the comments to see if there's any questions on that before I move forward. People just saying hello, hello. And Nebo said the pressure. Yes, that's a lot of pressure doing Kim Kardashian. And then Liz said we have to put back in what we took out. Correct. So let's move on to the next slide. So I personally use Redken Shades EQ. I don't work for Redken. A lot of times when I do these classes, people say, well, I'm not going to come to your class because you're a Redken educator and I don't use Redken. I am not a Redken educator. I am a brand-free hair color educator. I happen to use Redken Shades EQ. So all the tools that I have to share with you happen to be from that brand. That's the only reason. You're more than welcome to use any demi-permanent, in my preference, demi-permanent liquid color for filling and toning. So this is their filling formula chart. So they're giving you suggestions. And I stress the word suggestion because you don't have to do exactly what they have here. This is basically them giving you options at each level for what would be present in the hair that you need to go down to that next level. So one of my absolutely favorite formulas for filling is the WG series in Redken. It is the absolute perfect filler. It just fills in that necessary warmth without taking the hair too warm in the final results. Whereas if you're filling with a lot of CC or C or, a lot of the true red colors, you're going to have a lot more warmth that you're going to then, be fighting against when you go to your final level. So you give it what it needs, nothing more, nothing less, basically on your way back down. So if you, want to rewatch this and look at this up close, or you can actually probably Google this, just Google Shades EQ gloss fill formulas. It's all over the internet where you can grab this chart. So don't stress about looking close up, but you'll see like NW is in here a lot, 6WG, 8WG. I said that was my favorite. I use a lot of 09AA, which we joke all the time in my classes that if you're not a Redken user, and you go to reach for a 9AA thinking you're getting a double cool ash, you will be in for the shock of your life because there's nothing ash about it. It stands for Auburn, and is super orange, but amazing for corrective color. So you'll hear me talk a lot about zones. And this is my training from Beth Minardi from, 30 years ago when Beth was with Redken. She was very involved in the creation of Redken Shades EQ. She was the person that taught me how to stop, old school, bringing the color through the hair, bringing all of that alkalinity and ammonia through the hair unnecessarily to refresh ends. When I first started doing hair color, Shades EQ didn't exist. We had bottles of filler, and that's what we used to fill in the hair. So Shades EQ and other brands, Joico LumiShine, Rusk, all now have liquid demis that fill this purpose. We don't need filler anymore. So the reason that I teach in zones is because just like we talked last week about how hair color is not paint, we also have to know that the zones of the head don't react the same to hair color. So how many times have you, when you started out, myself included, in the beginning of, right out of beauty school, I would do someone else's client in the salon and I would look at their card and I would have their recipe and I would think, thank God I have their recipe. I have no idea what I would have done otherwise because I was not educated enough to know how to formulate. And the client, you're so happy that you have the formula, you're safe, you're not sweating, you're not stressing. And she sits in your chair and she spins her head around and she looks up at you and she says, you know what? I'm so glad that I have you today because I'm always afraid to ask Ruth for a change. She gets mad when I ask for a change. So I'm so happy that I can ask you for a change. Can we just go a little bit lighter on my color this time? How many times, tell me in the comments, how many times that has happened to you, where a client thinks that you can just simply whip up a batch of, say you're using 7N on her, all of a sudden you're going to use 8N and it's magically going to be lighter. But how many of you have done it where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do, her recipe is 7N. I'm just going to do 8N on her regrowth. And then I'm going to pull it through the ends. And that 8N is going to lift up those 7N mids and ends. And what do you think happens when you do that? A whole lot of nothing. You end up with hot roots, where the roots look lighter, brighter, and brand new hair. And then from where the regrowth ends and the mids begin is your old color that did nothing. So it's just going to look mismatched, undone. Your ends can always be lighter than your regrowth, but your regrowth can never be lighter than your ends. Rule of thumb. These days, I'm seeing vivids where it's blonde up here and purple on the ends. Anything goes these days, but ideally, most clients are going to want more depth here and lightness at the ends. So you have to take that into consideration. And if you are a one-hit wonder and you keep mixing up these formulas and you're treating the entire head equally, you're putting the same thing on the brand new hair that's fully keratinized, brand new hair, has not seen any elements or had any damage. Sometimes there's a little more gray there than the hair that's previously colored. So this needs to be treated different than this. You see in the diagram, zone 2 is from where your regrowth ends to, a couple inches down to where the mids end and the ends start, depending on the length of hair. So the very ends, think about how long that hair has been on your head. When this hair is all the way down here, imagine hair grows like this much per month. It's a tiny bit per month. So for it to start here and get all the way down here, it's a lot of months. It's a lot of years. So it's been blow dried. It's had chlorine. It's been in oceans. It's had so many different products. It's had heat tools. It's had a lot of abuse. So this is going to take on these areas much, much differently than that brand new hair. That brand new hair has scalp heat also. You have to consider that. And then this midsection sometimes can be the toughest to lift because it's too far away from the heat of the scalp, and then it's not as compromised and lightened as the ends. So sometimes you need to have a whole different formula in that midsection, especially if the client is coming in with a virgin application. How long has it been for you to have a virgin sit in your chair? I know for me, most virgins that sit in my chair are in their 20s and they're getting color for the first time because they're young and they want fun fashion hair, highlights, lived in, stretched root, all that. They don't want all over color. So I think in 35 years of doing hair color, I've done a virgin global lightning application with color maybe 20 times in 35 years because most people show up with you. Either they did something themselves because they do it because they're afraid of you. They're afraid of us hairdressers, which really is laughable, right? They're afraid of us. They're not afraid of themselves at the drugstore when they can do much more damage. It's kind of crazy, but it's true. And I was guilty of that as well. I would have my friends do a frost and tip cap on me and let them do highlights. But God forbid, I was like, I'm not going to a hairdresser. They're going to go crazy and lighten my whole head and make me, this high maintenance blonde. So it's kind of backwards, but it's true. So they usually come to us with old Sun-In in their hair or, an herbal essence kind of hair color or what's the other one that everybody uses on their first time? It's like those typical, in the L'Oreal commercials where they're like, I'm just going to put this box on. And what happens? Tell me in the comments what happens the first time that a client box colors their hair. They pick up a box, they put it on, they come in and they're bragging about it. And you're looking at it and you're kind of like, not bad, right? I've had it happen where I'm like, oh, wow, I like you with that little bit of red in your hair. What's going on? And they've said, oh, I just put a box on. I was just having some fun. And I'm like, damn, that really looks good. It looked really natural, really even. So this is what happens. They buy the box once and they have a good result. So of course they're going to buy it again. And when they buy it again, they're going to apply it the same way they did the first time, which is all over the whole head, because that's what the instructions told them to do. And they think, why would I do anything different? When it turned out so well last time, why would I do anything different this time? I want it to look the same as last time. So they put it roots to ends, they set the timer, they shampoo their hair, their hair starts to dry, and they end up looking like this. Their roots get lighter because it's new hair, And then the ends, because they went over everything, gets more browned out, more deposited, more inky. And then it becomes a hot root situation because they thought that it was one size fits all. And we could say shame on the hair color companies for, doing that, giving them the wrong instructions, but they're not hairdressers. The box hair color company isn't going to say, okay, on your first visit, do this. And then on your second visit, buy 2 boxes and do that. And, raise your developer and do this. And although Madison Reed is definitely a force to look out for, because I sat in on one of their pajama parties to see what was going on over COVID. And I was really shocked at the level of instruction that they give, to the point where they give their customers a glaze to refresh their ends. So they're doing for the home hair color person what we're doing as professional colorists, knowing that we need to treat the levels, the zones 2 and 3 differently with a sheer shiny demi color and not go over top with all that alkalinity and ammonia. So it's really scary, how much better those home hair colors have gotten, and how much information. How many people do you follow on Instagram that are hairdressers, and they're starting to talk on their social media to whoever's watching in a very tutorial-like manner? Girls that have worked for me that are really strong in their social media, I see them on there and they're like, I'm doing this to this client because I want to make sure that I don't bring the ammonia and the alkalinity through her end. So I'm refreshing with a demi. And I'm like, whoa, stop giving the consumer all of that muscle and that important information. They do not need to know that. That's what makes us the professional. So I'm not sure if it's I see somebody else doing it and I want to do it. And maybe I want to be an educator at some point and I want to be known as an expert. So that's why I'm doing that. But if your clients are following your social media, do not talk to them as if they need to know what the chemical is doing on their hair. You need to establish that level of trust that you say to them, let's talk about what you want and let's, develop a plan. And then, do you trust me? Ask them right out, do you trust me? And when they say yes, then you just do your thing. You don't need to talk about why you're mixing up a separate color. If you want to, just to tell her that you're doing a special process, but she doesn't need to know the chemical version of it at all times. Too much TMI. We've gotten into this mode of TMI. So this is another example. This is Madison. She came to me. She was a virgin hair color at junior year of college, and she's absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry that you can't see her face in this photo, but beautiful skin, beautiful blue eyes. She was the eyeball that I shared last week. If you want to go back and look at that video, she was the real pretty eye that I zoomed in on to show you how to look for the warmth in the hair. So I originally planned, because she had virgin hair, I love on a virgin head to use high lift blonde color for my highlights. That's my favorite thing to do. So I had all intentions of using color on her. And when I looked up close to her eye, I realized how much gold flecks she had. So I ended up using lightener, and I was glad that I did, because she did lean towards a more, champagne-y, a little bit more warmth in there. Beautiful, but she definitely had a lot of pheomelanin for using high lift color. She would have been super warm. So of course we get her beachy, beautiful Victoria's Secret, so natural, gorgeous color. Everybody loves it. And she watches, something on television with somebody with dark hair and decides that she is going to take matters into her own hands and deepen her hair and go back to her natural, which this is not her natural. Her natural is absolutely beautiful, level 7, very pretty. You can probably see a little bit of her eyebrow. It wasn't this deep, but because she was lightened all the way to, a level 9 with highlights, and she put a box on that was probably a level 5 or a 6, it could be a 6, but because she did not fill the hair, you can see how drab and inky that is. It's not even. You can see some of the color peeking through on her ends. She didn't take that step because she wouldn't know to take that step. But that's the difference between what we do in the salon and what she would do at home. But then, of course, she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I did that." How many of you have clients like that? I have two that do it every year. They torture me to go, super, super blonde, and then they torture me to go back to their natural afterwards. And both of them are on these slides. This one and the next one you're going to see both do it on the regular, and they both love having long hair. So we did this, took her back to blonde in foil. And the reason that we use foil is because a lot of people are recommending bleach bath, bleach wash. That word is getting thrown around a lot in a lot of forums. And bleach, as you know, is a harsh chemical. It's very strong. It's like the bomb of hair color. It's going to remove anything that it's put on. So if we globally put a bleach wash on her, first of all, it's going to be very uneven because she did not fill the hair. So there's areas that are going to soak up that color more than others, and it's unpredictable. And she had a little bit of her natural already growing in. So you couldn't really see it well. So you would tend to, put the bleach on all over, roots to ends, and then she's going to get super orange at her regrowth. She's going to have dark spots that aren't going to lift up evenly. So I prefer, in this case, because I knew there was blonde underneath. If she was a brunette and she went too dark with the box color and she wanted to go back to her lighter brown all over, that's when I would do an all over bleach wash, because I would watch it and just take that little bit of color off. And I would only want to be in the brown family, but to take it all the way to blonde in a bleach wash, I think is just a little bit too harsh. It's just not my favorite. So we did this with foils. But what happens with foils, I'm going to share with you on this next slide. Because the hair, we talked about the zones and it doesn't lighten evenly, this is what happens when you put a traditional foil in on a corrective head. You're applying the same strength of powder lightener and developer to the regrowth, the mid, and the end. And this is exactly what happens. The regrowth is going to lighten right away, and you're getting that power lift right there. Then you're going to get that super orange mid band, and then the ends are going to stay super dark, and you're lucky if you get them orange. So I teach a technique in my membership. I call it my flat foil technique, where I actually address each one of those zones with a different strength of product. And then, the important step after it's applied, if you're taking the time to apply all different levels of strength within that foil, if you then fold it up and pack it in on the sides and do all your normal foiling, that's going to smush everything together. So everything you just took the time to separate now becomes mushed together. So I like to keep it all separate, and that's why I call it my flat foil technique, because you'll see all the foils are just super flat on the head, just left long and not folded at all. So this is my other guilty girl that loves to go from blonde to super dark, Kardashian, back to blonde. So I wanted to share this with you because that's my fill on the right. So if you're not currently filling and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put orange and red orange and yellow orange and all this warmth in there when she wants to be Kardashian black, she's really light in that photo where she's in the field of flowers. She's a level 9, nice and pale blonde. So again, if I were to put that level 2, 3 on her from there, it's going to look like almost like Sharpie with a tinge of green, because the base of the color is going to pick up on those whiter pieces. It's going to be way too much dye load to go right in with at that level. So I need that level of warmth. So this recipe on the right is the 9AA and 8WG, one of my favorite fills. So I did that on there for 15 minutes. It scares the heck out of you when it's processing. Left it to process, rinsed it, towel dried it really, really well, and then applied my final shade. Now, a lot of people ask, well, can't you just put the filler on, set the timer, and then put the color on top? I have tried it that way because trust me, we all want to save time, but it just doesn't work the same. It's kind of like putting one color nail polish on and then putting another color nail polish on top of it. It's not the blending of the two things. The top thing becomes the thing that takes over, but it's not, you're not going to get that level of depth because you have that barrier of that other that other color on there. So I prefer to rinse it and towel dry it really, really well, and sometimes even dry it so that I get the longevity and I don't have that hollow color. I want it to last. So this is her after. You see how dark she likes to go. So it truly is Kardashian dark. So from super light to super dark. And then after she went that dark, it's time to, you just get her settled in. She's healthy. She's shiny. You see how pretty and healthy her hair. And she gets Brazilians because she has super kinky curly hair. So she does a lot to her hair. And we keep it all looking good because we take the necessary steps, we take our time, and we make sure that it's all done correctly. So sometimes taking a shortcut is not the best way to do. Somebody earlier, I took a screenshot, but I didn't have a chance to put it up here in a forum. Somebody was talking about filling, and this person said, "Oh, I don't do it separately. I just throw my filler in the same bowl." So we talked about this last week. Hair color doesn't have a brain. So the filler color doesn't go in the bowl and kick to the side and say, "All right, as soon as you put me on, I'm going to jump in, do my thing, and then I'm going to let that other color go in and do its thing and cover me up." It doesn't work that way. So if you put your filler into the bowl, let's use this as an example. So you put the 09AA and the 8WG into the bowl, and then you put her level 2 final result. What's going to happen is you're going to have level 2 and level 9 in the bowl, well, level 8.5. So let's say 8. So 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So your end result is going to be a level 5 when she wants it to be a 2. So you're really not saving any time because now you're not where you want it to be. And you're going to have to put something on top of it anyway to go deeper. So I'm not a big fan of adding it in. To each his own. If it's working for you and you're having good results, don't let me tell you any different. So hopefully that helps. So let me open up the comments, see how you guys are doing. Leanne said, "How long would you book a correction service for doing it this way?" My corrective work, I usually give myself at least 2 hours. I like to do it if there's an extra somebody in the salon that's able to help me, even if it's a shampoo assistant, just to help me rinse those glazes off in between and towel dry and do all that kind of stuff. But I'm not a big squeezer inner. I like to spend a lot of time with one client. I specialize in color. I feel like I have to give them all of my attention. So I don't cut hair, so I wouldn't do a haircut in between, but I don't like to do like put her touch up on, go do her foils, come back to her and do her glaze, go back to her. I don't like that back and forth. I've been doing this too long and I don't like to work that way. Laurie said, "Why would you not do a double fill? I thought you would fill." Yeah, I do. I do double fills. I didn't go through all the steps with this. I'm sorry. I was just showing you how scary that first fill is. I always, if I'm going from a 9 all the way to a 2, I absolutely do. Okay. So somebody's saying, "I'm ready when you are." I wonder if that is the person that's supposed to be getting on. I see Anne is here. Anne, do you have sound? Let me stop sharing and try to bring Anne on. Do you have sound, girlfriend? I forgot to put my earbuds in. I forgot we were having you come up here. So unmute yourself. You're muted. You had it and then you muted it again.
I'm on my phone, Elaine, so it goes in and out.
That's okay. You're good. I can hear you. Your hair looks cute. How are you?
Thank you. It's long. I'm good. How are you?
Girl, I love the scrunchy curls. Very
Elaine?
sexy. Am I losing you?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but you go in and out kind of choppy, so I'll do the best I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
So Anne, I'm bringing Anne on. She is a this isn't gonna be good. Let me take you off. So I was going to bring Anne on, and I have 2 other members of the Hair Color Secrets Insider membership that are going to be jumping on to answer your questions. basically about having me as their mentor and being in a supportive environment that you can phone a friend, basically. A lot of you may be solo suite stylists where you're now on your own. So you may have asked a neighbor at your salon, questions when you're in the middle of something and you're panicking and you need that phone a friend ability. If you're in a suite, you don't have that anymore. So I created this membership, the Hair Color Secrets Insider membership, because that was not available to me. When I was coming up in the industry, I definitely did not understand formulation. I didn't. I was always guessing and pretending that I understood what it was like. And I didn't take the time to surround myself with people who knew more than I did. So we were all kind of in the same boat. So I had to find my education elsewhere, and it was expensive, it was exhausting, and it was confusing. So for me now, 35 years later, I say, if you can find one strong mentor that you can lean in and understand their way of teaching, and it makes sense to you, and you like them on a personal level, you don't mind hearing, with me it's my raspy voice. I always say to my members, oh my gosh, are you like sick of hearing my voice yet? Because a lot of members are on here. Stacy's on here, Artie's on here, there's a lot, Renee's on here, there's a lot of members that are already in the membership, and they're here doing boot camp. They found me and joined the membership from coming to boot camp. So they're still here. And I'm like, guys, why are you here? You know all this. You're already in the membership. But the fact of the matter is they trust me and they know that I'm going to bring them something new always. So they're checking in on this boot camp to support me, which is great. But they're also like, I don't want to miss anything. She just did revival. Maybe she learned something in revival that she's going to share in this boot camp that I don't want to miss. So let's see some comments. So Lisa said, it's so helpful to have members to call if you have a problem. Yes, the community piece is huge. So if Lisa has an issue, which I love the picture of your horse, Lisa. If Lisa has an issue, somebody's husband knows my voice. I've heard that before. They always have me playing in the background, especially with the podcast. But if I don't get that message right away, that, there's somebody with an issue, like say I'm in a movie and I have my phone turned off or whatever, I love watching other members jump right in to help. So there's always someone there to help you because they could be just a little bit further ahead in the membership process. It's a year that you're with me. I really stress to join for a year because it's a journey, it's a colorful journey. It's not like sign up, watch 3 videos, and you're a color expert. I talk about pricing. I talk about branding. I talk about forms to protect you with corrective color to make sure that you're crystal clear with your client, not only what you're doing, what you're charging, but what the expectation is, and you have that client sign it. That's all included in the membership. It's talking about marketing when you have a slow month coming up, not waiting until that month is here and you have nothing going on, looking ahead and doing something about it. Jimmy Ann says, did I put that up yet? Where'd that go? Jimmy Ann said, I'm planning on being with you for a lifetime. I hope so. And I can talk about hair color for the rest of my life for sure. I never get sick of it. This is the message I was looking for. Elaine's worth her weight in gold plus some. The membership's amazing. So thank you. So I do see our girls here now. I'm hoping that we have a better connection. There's Katie. How are you? You look beautiful.
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So thank you for jumping in. I was just saying how touched I am when I see that existing members come to boot camp and you're not sick of me. So
of course not.
Here, I want to open up some Q&A for someone who may have come last week, is here this week. They're thinking, I like what I'm hearing, but I don't really know about this membership. Everybody's coming off a really tough year. Finances are really tight and we're really being careful how we spend our money. So if you could just speak to anything, I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just that would give you value in being a member that it did for you that you think other people would relate to.
Okay. So I've been doing hair for 23 years now. And I'm the second year in with you. And just in the last year, I have learned more about color than my whole career. I am more confident in my glazing. Um, I wrote a bunch of stuff down because I have so much. Corrective color, like the confidence level of even my coworkers have said it's just gone sky high. My foiling techniques have gotten so much better and so much quicker. Let's see what else. Just today, I did a redhead, and just in the revival that we just had, I learned Christina Russell's redhead. I did her thing, and just in that, I pulled off an amazing redhead today, and
That's awesome.
it took longer than I normally do, but pulling and going through her steps, it made it look immaculate. So I'm so I would have never heard of Christina Russell without you. And just the Facebook groups that we have, and being able to reach out to anybody any time of the day, somebody's going to respond no matter what. And you're as big as you are, you're always there for us, and it's so amazing. I'm so grateful.
Well, I love the hot seats, and I love, like, we did a correction together that you were struggling with, and I'm like having color sent to you from my friend that's a rep. I'm like, no, you need this color, you need this sent to, and you're like, you're insane, you're crazy, but it's the passion.
Yeah,
is like, that's all I can ever do. I can't even imagine doing anything else. And I love it. Like, we'll literally be driving to a wedding. I'll be all dressed up going to a wedding, and I'll see a message from a member in a panic, and my husband's driving, so it's fine. I'll be on there, and I'm like, FaceTime me right now. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, we have another half hour before we get to the wedding. She's got a client in her chair, So for me, like, if I could have had that early in my career, like you said, you've already been doing hair a really long time. And that shocked me. Who ended up being in the membership was not who the membership was originally created for. Like,
right.
I thought I was going to help people right out of beauty school, but all of this information is so missed and so needed that it's taking people 15 years in the industry to realize what they didn't know is more what's happening. So I keep trying to get to those newer people, but they're not realizing that I'm their person yet. It's almost like they have to be beat up and make a lot of mistakes and be real. People come to me and they say, this is it. If I don't get it after you, I'm quitting. I'm just going to be a barber. I'm not doing color, because they're so frustrated. So it's a lot. And that's why I love that you're with me a second year, because when people first go to sign up, they're like, a year, my gosh, I don't even know where I'm going to be a year from now. And I say, trust me, you're not going to get through all of the information in less than a year, because there's 180 lessons, and then the bonuses with the hair color simplified and the fearless formulation and the fast and fearless foiling. All those bonus things are full courses. It's not one YouTube video. It's like an entire full course, plus the entire membership, plus the coaching calls. So the people like you, and we have Anne here, I'm going to bring her up in a minute. The people that go all in and show up for the coaching calls, reach out to me for the hot seats, ask the questions, are the ones like you that are raising your income, doing, color services you never thought that you would be confident in doing, because you did the work. I didn't do the work. I held your hand and pulled you up, but you did it. You did it for you. So a lot of people think they can, I'm going to sign up and I'm magically, bippity boppity boo, I'm going to be an expert. Like, you have to
do the work.
Do the work, and ask the questions for sure. So
yeah, you're my cheerleader.
Well, I talked a little bit earlier about, like, when I had to get the education, I kept looking everywhere for that one person, because everybody has such a different style. So you mentioned Christina, and I bring Christina into our group because her and I talk color in the same language.
Right.
I don't ever bring anybody into you guys that's going to be the opposite of me, because that's too confusing.
I appreciate that.
Multiple balayage classes, and one says, hold the hair down here with tension. One says, keep it loose. One says, put your elbow this way. One says, put it that way. One says, flat brush. One says, pointy brush. I mean, everybody's saying something different.
Mhm.
I call it balayage confusion. You know, you're trying so hard to get it that you're so overwhelmed with all of the variety of ways that you just say, I'm just going back to my cap, or I'm going back to my foil, forget this. I actually have an embarrassing story that I promised that I would share tonight. I hate sharing this, but you guys don't even, my members don't even know yet. So
Oh boy.
to a class. It's been a long time. I went to a class in April, and it was a totally different technique that I had never seen before. Very unique, very interesting. And she did this technique on my hair, and I really liked the way that it turned out. So went to the class in April, and then haven't had a chance to use that particular technique on any of the models that I've done. So you know what it's like when you go to a class and you watch it, you take it all in, you think you got it, and then you don't do it right away. There's stuff you're forgetting for sure.
Mhm.
So shame on me. I got cocky. I thought 35 years, I got it. I watched it. I know what she did. So I did it on a person, on my husband's cousin of all people that lives here in Florida. Beautiful, really super long blonde hair down the middle of her back. We were trying to transition her into a more rooted blonde. So I was like, it's perfect for that. So I'm doing it, and I don't think Johnny's on here, but I was at one of our member, Johnny, lets me use his salon when I have models. So he's there. Our other member, Sylvia's there. They're watching me. I didn't do it before. I thought I'd be fine. So different tools, different technique, different everything. And I get to right here. I started at the nape, and it's a technique where every single piece of hair is treated. There's not a skipped piece. So it's kind of platinum cardish, but more
Mhm.
complicated. So I get up to here, and I'm thinking in my head, I don't even want to finish this. Like, this is way too much work, because you said I teach you faster foiling. To like, I don't have time for this.
No.
So I'm like sweating, and I'm dropping things. Like, they're both looking at me like, what happened to our fearless mentor? Like, she's looking like she's gonna have a stroke. And I was like, oh my God, if they weren't here right now, I totally would be like, I'm just doing the front and bullshit balayage. I'm not finishing this way. So I kept forging ahead, and that was a mistake. I knew better, because now this has been sitting on for so long in the back because it took so long. Long story short, it was an absolute disaster. I was literally sick, like sick, ready to vomit for 3 days. My
Oh my.
family was like, what is your problem? It probably wasn't that bad. I'm like, no, it was that bad. The actual girl who I did it to is like, it is not bad. Like, she was fine, but you know how we get, especially the longer we've been doing it. We don't ever want to disappoint a client, you know? And I'm like, I knew better. I don't know why I kept going. Like, I should have just said, this isn't working. I need to stop, and I need to just go back to the way. But how many times have we done that when we're learning something new? You could have watched what we did in Revival and said, oh, that's cool, and then just decided to do it your old way because it's that comfy blanket. It's that, pacifier of like, oh, I know this way, so I'm just going to stick to what I know. But you push through it. And the reason you push through it now is because for the past 2 years, you've been asking me a question, trusting, doing, having a good result. Asking a question, trusting, doing, having a good result. If you had a result like I got on this debacle, you'd be like, I'm not listening to this lady ever again. So I'm sharing this and being completely vulnerable right now, because most people on here don't know me, and this is their first time with me. And I'm sharing this because I still make big mistakes when I'm trying something brand new. I should have done it on 3 doll heads before I attempted doing it on a human being. But I was like, how hard can it be? It just didn't seem like it was that complicated. But trust me, there had to be a step missed, because it definitely was nothing like I wanted it to be. But it's not going to stop me. Like, I was having a pity party for a good 3 days, but I'm like, I know how to fix it. I had her come back, and I was like, I know how to fix it. I'm just mad that I have to fix it.
Right.
I wanted to nail it on the first time. So thank you so much for popping on. I'm gonna let you go, because I can talk forever, but I appreciate you. And I will
Oh,
see you on our call. I think it's the 8th we're getting together. So I will see
I
you
will be
soon.
there.
Thanks, Katie. So Anne, I hope you have sound. Are we going to try this again? Oh, are you on 2 devices? I see you in the green room. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Lane. I hope this. Am I good?
You were good. It's
Gotta wear
definitely
these so I
going in
can
and
see
out.
you.
Are you in the middle of the mountains or something?
Yeah, you've been middle of the mountains. I'm at like 6,000 feet. What can I say?
Okay. All right. Well, yeah,
Hello,
it's definitely
buddy.
we'll talk fast while we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just gonna talk fast for everybody listening. First of all, I love Elaine. I've been with her now, I think it's almost three years. I started with her Wednesday coffee chats. That moved into signing up for her classes. And I've been doing hair since what, like 28 years. And like Katie said, I'll just ditto everything Katie said, but add a couple of things. I've learned more, honestly, from Elaine for hair color the past 3 years than, beauty school. And then all the years I've been behind the chair. Now I did okay, but now I'm doing really, really great. And I kind of attribute it to just Elaine's common sense, simplicity. Um, I look at her as my kind of, I did triathlons, and my coach always said, what was her thing? It's like, I wrote it down because I didn't want to get this wrong. Where am I going? How do I get there? And what do I need? And Elaine is my triathlon hair coach because she starts you off with just thinking, where am I? Whose head of hair is this? Where do I want to go? And what do I need? And she's the biggest tool in the toolbox. And I love that. She's easy to understand. I've been to hair shows since I've been doing hair. I've seen Beth Bernardi and the Doves, and Elaine has them in her classes, in her revival. I've been to Elaine's Elaine, what do you call that in Florida?
The retreat.
That weekend, the retreat, and Beth Bernardi was there, and so she has all these for the price for a year that you're going to pay is far less than going to one hair show to see, and I'm not against that, but you have Elaine in your office. You can reach her anytime. It's just so convenient. And I can't say enough. And that's no lie. I've been doing, like I said, hair a long time, but lately I've been doing really good hair because I think about what I'm doing. And when I'm in that back room, I'm just not guessing anymore. And that goes from, I do use Wella and Color Touch and Redken. So I'm able to really understand what Elaine is saying, but it crosses over to every hair color line, even if you don't use those colors. Like I said, I can't say enough about her. I love her. She's the absolute best. And, she's with me for a very, very long time. So thank you,
That is
Elaine.
the only time in my life I will ever be talked about in a triathlon sentence. So thank you, and I love what your coach said because it's very true. It's the why, the how, the understanding how you get there. So I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate you. My favorite transformation with you and I together was your silver gray Jack Martin transformation. I was so proud of the way that you did that, and you were fully confident. And that's something that so many people are getting sitting in their chair and they're just frozen in fear of where do I even begin? And you stepped outside your comfort zone with what you mixed for your final glaze, and it worked, and the client was happy. So there's so many of those moments that I'm as excited as you are when you get to the final result and you're like, okay, I got this. And then you don't need me. It's like the genie in the bottle. You can rub the bottle and you get your 3 wishes. And then soon you don't even have to ask because you think the way that you were taught to think and you work it out on your own. So thank you.
100%. And one piece of advice to everybody out there, and Elaine, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you ask Elaine a question and then you don't do it, what is that called, Elaine? Like ask her or
ask call.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like when
An
you ask
ask
Elaine
call.
yes. So when you ask her, yes, ask. So when you ask her, like, what glaze should I do or what should I tone? And you're like, oh my God, no way. Just trust. And it works. And that happened with me as a woman. She was talking about the glaze, the double glazing and all of that. It was perfect. So trust in this woman. So
thank you
that's
so
it.
much. Thank you, Anne. I'm hoping to get out to Colorado to see you soon. It's on the bucket list. So she was talking about there's a meme on Instagram that says AskHole, ASKHOLE, when someone asks for your advice and then does exactly what they were planning on doing before they got your advice. So there's a lot of that in the beginning. A lot of people will join the membership and they'll have a situation, and I'll look at the situation and I'll, walk them through it and say, think about what you're doing for this and think about that. And then they'll show the after, and it's not what we talked about. And I'll be like, okay, I never criticize. I never want anyone to feel bad. But I say, tell me what happened. How did you get here? And they'll say, well, I just did what I always do. I didn't do what you said. I'm like, okay, well, and you see the result that you got. So if you're going to continue doing what you've always done, why are you here? Why are you hiring a hair color coach? Because it's just like Ann said with an athlete, if I don't go to the gym and I don't do exercise, I'm always going to have an extra 25, 30 pounds on me that I complain about, but I have to do something different. So you have to take action and you have to trust. So if I tell you something and it doesn't go well, then question it in the next time. But when someone's been doing something for only that for 35 years, my kids tease me because my father just passed away from Alzheimer's, and I watched an amazing special with Tony Bennett. He did a full-on concert in his 90s with Alzheimer's, and they shuffled him out onto the stage. And when that music went on, he went bam with his hands. As soon as that note hit, he was Tony Bennett. He knew every word of every song. He did not miss a beat. He knew Lady Gaga's name. He was Tony Bennett again. And as soon as the music went off and his wife said, you did great. He said, what did I do? He didn't even remember doing it. So they said in the special that whatever you're the most passionate about in your younger years is what you can relate to people talking to you when you have Alzheimer's. So I said, I'm going to be, wearing a diaper, not knowing who I am or where I am, but I'm going to be able to formulate the hell out of every woman at the supermarket looking at the back of their head. So it is my absolute passion and purpose. I believe that's why I am here on God's green earth. That's why the book happened that you see behind me, wrong side. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I made it my purpose to get on stage at hair shows to try to meet as many people as possible. And a lot of my members I met teaching at my first Orlando hair show. It was like 7 years ago, the first time I got on stage in Orlando. And those are the people that are still my people. So I'm blessed to be surrounded by other passionate hair colorists. And I love spending time with them. I love mentoring them and helping them. Patricia's saying she's losing sound. Stacy, how are you doing? Can you hear and see me okay? Is it my connection? There's Sonia. Absolutely best color classes in 38 years. Sonia was at Revival. She was playing full out at Revival. Love Sonia. Great to see you here. So again, these are all people who already are members, and they are in this boot camp that's for you, the person who does not know me, to invite you to be a member. So they're still here showing up and participating fully in this boot camp. Okay, so some people are saying it's spotty and some people are saying they're good. So sorry about that. It's always when I use a third party, I wanted to be able to invite these girls on to talk. And I can't do it right through Facebook. So Crystal's here, but her camera's not working. Crystal, can you hear us and can we hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
There you go. You look like a magic 8-ball. It's kind of cool. It's a black screen with a little eyeball and it looks like a bowling ball. So thank you for jumping on. We'll just listen to you. We won't get to see your gorgeous face and your beautiful blonde hair, but we can chat.
And I got
anyway.
my hair done yesterday.
Oh. Now who gets to do your hair? Crystal has, since we met, has opened her own salon. So that's one of the negatives of going solo, is you don't have anybody who can just jump in their chair and get your hair done.
A girl that I used to work with just recently opened her own salon as well. And so we are trading, which is fabulous.
Perfect.
We work very similar in a similar way. So it works really well.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, for you, I know a lot of the branding and business stuff was much more appropriate for you in the beginning of your membership. I know since then it's been more color and more technique, but in the beginning it was all about, raising prices, doing the color contracts. So speak to those kind of things that are above and beyond regular, just this is how you do, a highlight.
Well, in the very beginning, I found you before I even knew I was going to be opening my own salon. And at that point, I had been in the business almost 30 years, still was fearful formulating in the back room. So there was an aha moment there when I found you, and I heard a little bit and then just wanted to hear a whole lot more. So with each success, I was hooked. And that was huge for me. And then when I went out on my own and I was able to speak with you on business matters, and whenever I asked a question, you were super responsive. It gave me the fear left, and it gave me a real positive experience opening my own solo suite.
That's awesome. So no regrets, right? You're doing your thing. You have your own schedule, and you were coming into a market that was not, really ideal as far as a salon. Like, don't you have a lot of vacation people? Like you had a lot of reason to be cautious and you pushed through it. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of people that are, it's a ski town. And so they're only there for a short period of time. And so through the Facebook ads that you actually your daughter was talking about when Bren was doing that thing, I learned about how to advertise on Facebook and was able to market to a certain clientele, specifically people who were coming in as vacationing in that area. And so a lot of people found me that way, and my clientele built pretty quickly.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people, what Crystal's referring to is we do outside the box marketing within the membership where I'm no marketing major, but I'm scrappy and I've had my own salon since I was 22. So I always had to find a way to get people in my chair, and I never had an ideal location. They say location, location, location. I always had the passion, the purpose, the work ethic. I always went in early, stayed late, helped everybody else, but I never had a great location. So I had to get really creative with my marketing and advertising. So we help our members come up with ways, very low cost to no cost ways of getting new clients in their chair without doing Groupon or things that you end up being annoyed that, Groupon's getting all the money and you're doing all of the work. So it's not just hair color. It's called Hair Color Secrets Insider because hair color is my life. That's all I ever live and breathe. But because I've had a salon since I was 22 and I'm 54, I also can help you with all of those things, how to set your pricing, how to systemize things, how to do an employee manual if you're opening a salon with employees, making sure that you protect yourself with forms, using technology to your advantage, color measuring software and inventory management. It's so much more than just, it's not a library of just how-to videos of me doing hair, and sometimes people will get into the membership and they're so used to that being the case with former memberships. They're a little like, oh, what did I get myself into? But I'm a certified life coach. So you're actually getting the years of experience as a salon owner, as a trainer. I've trained all of my colorists throughout the years that worked with me. Every single one of them, if they're still doing hair, is a six-figure colorist, every single one. So I don't, BS you. I teach you how to get from where you are to where you want to be in the quickest, most pain-free way possible. So Crystal and Anne and Katie are all examples. Stacy's on here. I wasn't able to get her the link in time. So sorry about that, Stacy. But Stacy's also in her second year. She's a next level insider. We have an in-person retreat. I think, Crystal, you're coming to the retreat, aren't you?
I am. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
Yeah. And, even after being in the business this long, there's so much more to learn, so much to perfect. And that's still exciting to me. to be able to do new stuff and learn new things and meet others that are also insiders that really have want to learn as much as I do. So the value is
Absolutely.
impressive because it's really well balanced and a good overview of what we do day to day between the business and the hair and the working with the different clients and the personalities. So very helpful all around, and
Thank you.
and able to use it behind the chair on a daily basis.
Yeah, there's nothing in there that's fantasy, rainbow. Like I always preface that when I do these boot camps. If you are really into vivids and really into, Naha type hair, I am not your girl. Like you're going to be not liking it at all because that's not the kind of color that I do. I am gray coverage, natural highlights, beautiful, believable redheads. I don't do a lot of funky, vivid type reds, but real life behind the chair things that served me well from the time that I started, at 22 with my first salon until now, and what actually matters behind the chair. So my main theme is simplifying everything, simplifying formulation, simplifying foiling, simplifying techniques. I'm not one of those that does like the 50 million diagrams on the board with like a triangle and then a moon shape and then take this section and do that. It's all about just taking a step back from the head and seeing what does that individual's hair need and knowing that the individual has a face, not just a head of hair. So looking at their eye color like we did last week, looking at the inside of their arm for whether they're warm or cool, those type of things that you may not have learned in beauty school or where we dive in and go deeper. So thank you, Crystal, even though you're a super 8-ball. Thank you for jumping in and giving your testimonial. I appreciate you and I cannot wait to see you at the retreat.
Thanks. I'll see you then.
Take care. So that was fun. I've never done that before. I've done this boot camp probably 6 times and I go to other people's, events and master classes, and they always have these great people giving testimonials. And I'm like, I have 3 years worth of members that would be happy to jump in and give a testimonial. They're here for 3 years for a reason. So I hope you don't mind that I did that. I just wanted to share because I could keep telling you everything that I want to tell you about how wonderful the membership is. But until you hear it from a peer and someone who's been where you are right now, trying to talk themselves out of doing something different. I've gotten a couple messages after last week's boot camp. I think some people, even though I didn't talk about the membership, I think a lot of people headed to my website and they saw the membership on there. And some people reached out and said, it's been a tough year. I'm really not doing well financially, but I really want to take your course. Is there any way that you could give me a payment plan? So do not worry about that. We're going to talk about all of that in Masterclass. So all of you are invited to a Masterclass. There's 2 options. The link was in this broadcast and you're also getting emails about it. So reserve your spot for the Masterclass because Zoom only allows 100 people on each. So I think we had something like 1,000 or 1,100 people sign up for boot camp and only 200 can come to the Masterclass. And every single person who comes to the live Masterclass and stays until the end is going to get a gift that is going to be worth coming for. So that's a little hint. If you show up for Masterclass, be sure to stay till the end because we grab all of the emails from Zoom of the people who stayed until the end, and we're going to physically send you a gift. So just for coming, whether you join the membership or not. So thank you so much for listening and for being here tonight. I hope that you got value in our what goes up must come down about filling the hair and making sure to treat the hair in the different zones and pay attention to what each area of the hair needs. I will see you back here on Thursday. We'll be back here for session 3 of boot camp. And then again, when I see you in one of the 2 master classes. So thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. If you have a coworker and you're talking about this tomorrow and you're sharing with a coworker, it's never too late to join boot camp. These videos stay on this page. They do not get deleted. So you definitely can just keep scrolling down and find last week's session 1, this session, as well as the 3rd session will stay on this page. The masterclass does not get loaded here. The masterclass is done on Zoom, and there's no replay for the masterclass. So you're going to want to show up for that for sure. We're going to talk about foiling faux pas and all the things that go wrong in foiling that are so easy to fix. It's one of my favorite classes. So thank you again for coming. Thanks for being here, and I will see you all Thursday. Have a great night and a great week.